Guys, good morning. Today is the day that I am disembarking what I think has been my favourite cruise maybe ever, which is such a bold claim, but I have had an absolute ball this week. So for the last 7 nights, I have been on board Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas, which is actually one of the oldest ships from Royal Caribbean. So yeah, a very different experience to what I saw on Oasis class a few weeks ago. But the reason why I've loved this is the ports. So we've been going around Cyprus and the Greek islands, and it's just been remarkable. So we have docked this week in Limassol, Rhodes, Santorini, hence the t-shirt, Athens, Mykonos, and we're now going back. We've just docked in Haifa here in Israel, which is where I'll be disembarking. So yeah, an amazing week, a brilliant ship. I've really settled in here for the last 7 nights. And today in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to disembark from a cruise ship, because this is one that before my first ever disembarkation, I was definitely nervous, and the more of them that I've done now, the more I think, do you know what, it's worth taking a little bit of time out to talk to you guys about it, to hopefully try and make that process as easy as possible for as many of you as possible. Now, a couple of things that we're going to cover. I think there's 4 in total, so hey, let's get started, because my cabin steward wants me out of this room by 8 o'clock and it's currently 1:45, so yeah, let's get to it. So the first thing that I would always want to discuss when it comes to disembarkation is payment. Now, you're not going to be able to leave the ship if you haven't settled your account, so it's really, really important that you think about doing that absolutely no later than the final morning on board. Now, most people when they cruise, they'll link up a credit or a debit card. So personally, I link up my debit card to my cruise account. And that means that everything that I buy throughout the week or throughout the 2 weeks or however long I'm on the ship, when it gets to the final morning, that balance will be deducted. My outstanding will be wiped down to 0, and then I can leave the ship. Now, some people, to play opposites with that, choose to pay cash, where they would much rather go via the desk the morning of disembarkation or the night before they leave, when they know they're not going to buy anything else, and settle their account in cash. Now, you can do either. My advice is that if you go down the cash route, just make sure that you leave yourself plenty of time the night before, because the queue at guest services can be relatively large on the final day. Yesterday was a sea day for us, so the queue was long for the majority of the day, because all of the passengers were on the ship. So just be really careful that your payment method suits what your plan is for the last day, just in case you have quite a lengthy wait that you need to factor in at some point. Now, number 2, for things that you need to think about when it gets to disembarkation day, is luggage. And actually, can we reflect on just, that was slick. So yeah, luggage. Now, I have still got my hand luggage in the cabin, obviously, so I've got my hand luggage suitcase, which is an aircraft carry-on, and then I also bring a backpack just for like my laptop and stuff. But yeah, one bag that I don't have with me anymore is my checked bag, so my big heavy suitcase, that has to go outside into the corridor the night before you leave. Now, this caught me out the first time I cruised, because I didn't leave the right type of clothes in the room, and I didn't leave the right toiletries, and I mean, it was fine, but like, for example, I didn't keep a bag in the room, so I actually had to leave Norwegian Escape with a shopping bag, which definitely wasn't ideal. So yeah, definitely make sure that you think about what you need to wear on disembarkation day. So when you're packing your case, leave this outfit somewhere else. So personally, I put this on the bed so that I know that I'm not going to pack any of this. I always keep a spare t-shirt here, just in case, because when I was leaving Symphony of the Seas, I put my t-shirt on and realised that, like, round here had a rip in it, and I thought, great, well, now I'm going to have to leave a cruise ship with a hole in my back. So just always make sure that you've got the right outfit and you're covered. From a toiletries point of view, if you're going to need it overnight, or if you're going to need it in the morning when you wake up, keep it. Obviously, don't put it in your bag, because anything you put in that bag, when that goes outside for usually about 10 or 11 p.m, the porters will then come and collect that luggage, and you won't see it again until you get off the ship and into the terminal building. So if you're going to need it before, say, lunchtime on your disembarkation day, just make sure that you keep it in the cabin and keep a bag handy that you can put it in. So yeah, it's quite daunting when you go to dinner on the last night and you see everyone's suitcases out there. It definitely caught me off guard the first couple of times, but once you know what you're doing, honestly, don't worry about the luggage. Just make sure it's right the first time, and from there, the only way is up. So do not worry. Now, we've covered payment, we've covered luggage. The third thing to talk about is like disembarkation times and how they work. So, Royal Caribbean this week have given us what the majority of cruise lines do give you, and that is a handout that comes with, hopefully you can see this, a chart with everyone's planned disembarkation times. Now, these are really important for a number of reasons. Now, Royal Caribbean have split them by international guests and Israeli passport holders. Now, I'd imagine that's probably to do with the customs officials that are going to be ashore. But if you're an international guest with a non-Israeli passport, you can only disembark between 6:30 and 8 a.m, or you can then begin disembarkation again from 9:30 until 10 a.m. Now, one thing to note is that Royal want you off the ship as early as possible. Some cruise lines, when it gets to this point, you can stay on pretty late. So I recently cruised with Costa, and one of my favourite things about Costa on disembarkation day is that you can still be fine. You have to get out the cabin by 8 o'clock in the morning, which is the same here, but you can remain on the ship until lunchtime. So on Costa Toscana, my friend and I, we stayed on the ship until about, 11:45, and at that point, we had a really quick lunch and then left. So it meant that you got an extra morning of your holiday, and that morning, your all-inclusive drinks and whatnot, they continue as well. So I was really, really impressed with Costa on that front. Now, to flip that on its head, disembarkation this morning started in Haifa at 6:30 in the morning. Now, that to me, I mean, honestly, I usually, in the real world, start work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not even up at 6:30. No, I'm not leaving the house at 6:30 when I'm working. Never mind when I'm on holiday. So for me to be leaving the ship at 6:30, I'd have to be up at 5:30, which, yeah, unless I've got a flight, I just wouldn't do that. So, look, everybody on board is given, and I've now packed them so I can't show you, but you're given a luggage label the day before you disembark. That luggage label ties up with a number. So if you're number 7, for example, today you would be disembarking at 7:30 in the morning. If you're tag number 31, you'd be disembarking at 9:20. So the way that these grids work, right, is that you've got your tag number, you're then given a venue that you need to meet at, and then you're given a disembarkation time. So really, really straightforward. You would look at what tag number you are, you'd then go to the disembarkation venue. So in the case of tag 23, you'd go to the Shall We Dance Lounge at 9 a.m. Definitely. Had to check there. You'd go to the Shall We Dance Lounge at 9 a.m. and at that point, someone will be there to tell you, okay guys, you're now ready to leave. Now, they do this for a number of reasons. Number one is to limit the amount of queuing that's taking place at the port. And number two is to make sure that your luggage is ready. Because if you suddenly let 2,400 people loose off of a ship into a luggage hall at the same time, you and I both know it would be absolute chaos. Now, the final thing that I want to talk to you about today, before I need to get off of this cruise ship, is eating or dining. Eating probably isn't the right word, but dining. Now, quite a few people, when I've spoken to them, they want off the ship early because they're booked before breakfast and breakfast won't be open, and you actually see them on the dock and they're like, oh, we're looking forward to getting to a cafe. Now, 9 times out of 10, the breakfast offering on your cruise ship will open early on disembarkation day. It's in their best interest that they get you fed to get you home. So usually you'll find that if the breakfast room would usually open at 7:30, it'll probably open at 6:30 on disembarkation day. So make sure that you look at where's open and when to make sure that you're not going home hungry. So on this leaflet that Royal Caribbean give you, there's a whole section at the bottom for if you're hungry. Now, the good thing about that is that on this ship, I know that this morning I could eat. There's quite a few places actually, so I could go to the Windjammer, which was a buffet. I could go to the main dining room. I could go to Cafe Latitudes, which is a little coffee bar down by the atrium, or I could go to the Park Cafe. Now, the earliest I could go to any of them is 6 a.m. actually, so they'd open early. They'd actually open so that the first person disembarking at 6:30 in the morning can get fed and get a coffee. And the latest, so the coffee bar closes at 9:30. So, yeah, you have absolutely no need to leave one of these cruise ships hungry. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to walk you through today. Just the main reason for this video is that before I got on Norwegian Escape, I was really nervous about disembarkation, and just after a couple of things went wrong, I actually really hope that on this channel people can use my mistakes to hopefully get things right. So yeah, now the rest of my day today, I am leaving the ship here in Haifa and I'm travelling down to Tel Aviv, which is just further south in Israel. Now, I'll then in 2 days' time be flying home back to the UK, which, yeah, do you know what? After being on cruise ships for 3 months, I am actually really excited to go home now. I think it now feels like, yeah, I think it feels like time to be going home. I've got a couple of weeks, minus a 1 week holiday to Spain, but I've got a couple of weeks now in the UK before kicking off the next part of my adventure, which is going to include a flight from Manchester over to Los Angeles, which, yeah, I am very, very, very excited about, but I can't talk to you about it right now, otherwise I will get all smiley and distracted and we'll be here for another 20 minutes, and that's not what my cabin steward wants this morning. So yeah, look, hopefully you found this video useful. I will end this video by showing you what my destination looks like today, because I'm heading down to Tel Aviv and I am so excited because it's a brand new city for me. But yeah, I'm not going to actively vlog the whole way down, just because, yeah, Israel's a bit of a funny one for having your camera on a stick walking around at a train station, so I'm not going to vlog the whole way, but I will show you where I'm going to end up. So look, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for watching this episode. Hopefully, if you've never cruised before, you've found it useful, or maybe I've given you something to think about if you have. But look, if you found it useful, then it'd be brilliant if you could give it a thumbs up, which you can do directly below. And also, while you're there, if you'd like to join me on the rest of my adventures, then feel free to hit subscribe, which you can do underneath the video as well. But for now, I'm going to head out into the beautiful Israeli sunshine, and I will see all of you in my next video soon. Brilliant. Cheers, guys. Bye. So just like that, our time exploring the Greek islands together is officially over. It's now time to disembark Rhapsody of the Seas here in Haifa in Israel. Head next door to the train station, which is probably the easiest walk I've ever taken between a cruise and a train, to board one of these double-decker trains to take me down into Tel Aviv. Now, before coming here, I had never seen this part of the world before, and Tel Aviv caught me completely off guard. This place is absolutely enormous, and take it from me, it's boiling all the time. It's so warm. Now, just to remind you, this video was shot prior to any of the current events kicking off over in Israel. This was filmed back in June 2023, and release of these videos absolutely doesn't represent any political or religious viewpoint from myself. One thing that I did find really interesting about Tel Aviv was the fact that on the Sabbath or Shabbat, everything shut down. I've never ever seen a city so quiet before, and while initially I thought that's annoying, I wanted to do some shopping, I actually think on reflection it was really, really cool and really interesting to see a place that would usually be wall to wall with people absolutely deserted. I didn't expect it at all. Anyway, one thing that the closed shops meant for me is that rather than going round the shops and grabbing a Big Mac before heading back to my hotel, I was able to spend a bit more time downtown and at the beach. The beaches in Tel Aviv are absolutely beautiful. They are so far stretching and there's loads of space on them, as you can see here. Now, I was able to, on the final night in Tel Aviv, just go chill out on the beach and watch the sunset on this stage of my year at sea. It's been absolutely incredible. After this, I then flew back to the UK before embarking on an absolute adventure of a lifetime. Coming up in my future videos, we are going from London all the way across the pond on an 11.5-hour flight from sunny England all the way to Los Angeles. Now, once I get there, I'll be picking up my hire car and I will be going to the most magical place on earth, Not the Long Beach cruise terminal, but in fact Disneyland in Anaheim. I haven't been to Disney for years, so I absolutely adored everything about this before eating some food, some more food, and you guessed it, some more food. I have never eaten so much as what I did when I got to the US. Before ticking off more of my bucket list, whether that be the Hollywood Bowl, whether that be Santa Monica Pier, whether that be the Six Flags theme park in California, before getting back onto cruise ships. Now, I'll fill you in more on my next ship in my next video, but for now, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for supporting me across the first part of my adventure this year, and hopefully, plenty more to come. See you in my next video, everyone. Bye.